Welcome back to Gunsmith Part 7. This one's been driving me insane. I've basically spent about an hour on this so far. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that you need to have a 60 rounder. You either need this one, the Mag 60 rounder, or you need the Surefire PMag, or you need to have the Surefire Mag 5 100 rounder. This one makes it really difficult because the ergonomics is super low. It is possible, but you have to do a lot, and I haven't built a build for this time because this thing is only purchasable from the flea market at level 25. My build works off this one because this is the one where you get the barter at Peacekeeper 3, so you will eventually be able to get it for 2 PCBs and 1 GM count. If you're using the other 60 rounder, then the build will be slightly easier because it has a bit more ergo than this one. So with that out of the way, let's go and have a look at an M4. BSG have made M4s harder to get this wipe. We have two choices really, Peacekeeper 2s, 3 CPUs and 1 CPU fan barter. These components you need to be level 30 to buy, so you basically just have to have these, or you can buy an M4 for $1,000 from Peacekeeper, or you can buy one from the Flea. Just be very careful of low durability. If you look at a lot of these, they've come from rogues and they have horrible dura and you need to repair them before they will work. This won't work if you just use it as is. So with that out of the way, let's go through the build. Let's go through the easiest build that I've found. We're going to stick on the 60 rounder to begin with. As I said, it was this one, the Mag 5. Then we're going to change over the gas block to the Mark 12, this one. Stick that on, and we're going to do the first part, which is a little bit dodgy. So you can buy the SF3P from Mechanic 2, and on the end of this, you can buy the Monster. The Monster suppressor is not one that people really like. It is possible to buy this on the Flea, and you can get this at level 15. There's not that many of them though, so you may end up having to use a different build if this gets really popular. Then we're going to change over the handguard to the MOESL. This comes from Skier. We put that on. We're going to put the rail on underneath, the M-Lock 4.1 inch rail. And then onto that, we're going to add the VFG vertical foregrip, the basic one from Peacekeeper that we use on a lot of our builds. Now from here, let's get rid of the carry handle. And we're going to replace this with this particular sight, the Romeo 7. This is the other one that we used earlier, which is the 800 sighting range, which is why we're using it. Then on the stock, we replace the entire carbine tube with the Troy. This comes from Mechanic 2. The Troy M7A1PDW. This gives loads of ergo. And then finally, we've got to add a pistol grip. This is another Peacekeeper 3 one, the MOE AR-15. Last time I looked, there was loads of them on the flea market, going for prices around where Peacekeeper was selling them for. But if that also gets expensive for whatever reason, you can use any of these ones, the OMRG. There's one in green, there's one in tan, there's one in black. There's a whole bunch of different versions. So use any of those, and that will take your ergo down by 1. So then we need to make a little adjustment, which is to the MASP charging handle, that guy, which comes from Peacekeeper 2. And then you can add the Defiance rear sight. These two add together to make 1 ergo. So if you do end up getting forced to use the OMRG, you can fix this with that. Ideally, though, you just buy the MOE AR-15 and not have to bother with these two things. So this is the first build. I'm going to put it on this weapon. You can see I can't build it because it's exactly the same as the one I've got in my stash. If you're still struggling, some of these parts are not available or something, then I'm going to show you a couple of different versions. We'll just whip through them quickly. This is another one which uses the basic regular M4 build. This takes the LVOA-S, which is a Peacekeeper 3 handguard, and uses the Hybrid 46 suppressor instead. It uses the GF Mod 3 vertical foregrip, one of these OMRGs that we saw, which you can just grab off the flea market, and it uses the ATP buffer tube, which comes from Skier, and a GL Shock, which is a mechanic barter for a can of WD-40. This one does have the Defiance rear sight and the MASP on it to make it work, and the main crux of this whole build is that it's got a 10.3 inch barrel, which can either be bought or bartered from the traders. You can either get it for 2 broken LCDs, 3 Marlboros, and 2 Apollos, or buy it straight from Peacekeeper 3. Failing that, there's 2 other builds as well that all hinge on this bottom section down here. You've got 2 uppers called the Gen 3, the Noveska Gen 3. There's also another one which is called the AX15. These make the build way easier to do because they add so much ergonomics. The problem with these, you can't actually buy them. There's not many of them on the fleet. Last time I did Gunsmith outside of the hardcore wipe, I recommended the AX15. They're quite expensive. There's not many of them. These got bought out and everybody complained, which is why I did it differently this time. So I've got 2 builds. One, which is the Aeronox one, which is kind of similar to what I did last time. This is using a Hybrid 46 onto an ADAR barrel to get the recoil to work properly. An MOE SL in black, which is slightly different, with a Knights Armament vertical foregrip on top. Again, we're using the GL Shock, and we've got the MIAD on there. The other alternative, if you're not using the Aeronox, is the Gen 3. This one is identical to the previous build. Again, you have to use the ADAR barrel, otherwise you can't fit the MOE SL on there, and all the parts are the same on this one. So this gives you like 4 different versions to do the M4. I don't want to hear anybody complaining about it this time. Make sure you repair your guns. And we're going to go back to mechanic and hand in probably one of the hardest gunsmiths of the entire patch.